Hello, and welcome back to the Season 2 podcast at College Football Today. Very excited about the future of the program and what we're trying to implement here through the S.T.E.P ratings process on the recruit rankings. That's kind of what got me into algorithms and learning all these things that I've been talking about a lot on social media, my websites, and all that. Breaking down the 247 sports algorithm, it really didn't make a lot of sense to me when Rivals.com is part of the major recruiting rankings industry and they had ranked a fake recruit. And not saying that they didn't address the problem, because they kind of had to. Ranking a kid that didn't exist kind of threw people for a loop and really brought light to how the recruit rankings are conducted at 247 Sports, Rivals.com, and ESPN. Look, they're looking for guys that draw revenue to their websites. Who are those guys? Guys that get offers to Georgia, Alabama's, the big schools. And there's nothing wrong with the system, right? I'm just giving you the facts about the system. I'm giving you the facts about the recruiting rankings and how they are highly diluted through this process. And it's why we see in the NFL draft guys coming from every angle of college football today, really. South Dakota State, North Dakota State. Now, North Dakota State's a powerhouse. They've put a lot of players in, but even D3 schools, Wisconsin Whitewater, putting Marinez, guys that really went missed because of height. These charts that they make that are complete, they're ludicrous. They have nothing to do with playing the sport of American football, gaining leverage off the snap of the football. Coastal Carolina was a great example of that this year. Their line was 5'9" to 6'2" across the board. You'll never see that. I don't know if I've ever seen that in D1 FBS football in my career so far of scouting, and it legitimizes what I'm saying in a fashion. That's why we do the NFL draft prospects and rankings and all that, and put the algorithm together, because that's what 247 Sports claims to do as well. But if you look at their lists, it's not checking out 4 or 5 years later on the stars, how many star ranking of recruit has, where they're ranked at. None of it makes sense, because this year in the first round alone, it was around a 3-star average. Some guys had 2 stars that got drafted in the first round. I haven't broken down rounds 2 through 7 officially yet, but I started to mull through it a little bit, and some of the guys aren't even listed 4 years ago, 5 years ago on 247 Sports. Not saying it's not a great platform for exposure, and that's what it should be used for. It shouldn't be used to actually legitimize the recruit rankings, because a diamond can form in the rough any day of the week. Learning new concepts, learning a better work ethic, learning to develop a schedule, learning how to manage, how to be respectful to your coaches. But you don't always have to take everything they say if it doesn't make sense and you have a better way of doing it. But respect your coaches, respect your elders, prove that your way works, and then you'll adopt it eventually. You have to learn that they've learned a certain way from a certain person that they respect, and took that to their philosophy and their mentality. So most of it can't be blamed on any individual. It can be blamed on what we've been taught since we were born. Most people stick to it, and I find myself sticking to mostly everything my father taught me, and my mother. So from the Bible, Christianity, taking those concepts into a different reality, really, that we're living in today, virtually. We can reach so many people, and it's not about pounding religion. It's about pounding what's right and how to treat people. Religion's so diluted today as well. If we go into that algorithm on another day, it's just everywhere. I mean, we have religions just popping up now. And back to the algorithm on 247 Sports, the NFL draft, all of it combined, their algorithm's extremely flawed. And if they're taking the top domains, top recruit rankings in the top public domain. Well, they should be taking ours, and they were, I believe, for a while when I was at matching back and forth and comparing. I don't want to be a part of it. I just don't want to be a part of a system and a composite ranking that I don't agree with. If I agreed with it and it made sense logically, and there was better developers of this system, and there was better developers to finalize, exactly the algorithm that's going to create for each position, because there's so many variables you have to play into consideration when it comes to ranking recruits. And I'm jumping into the class of 2024 today, and these kids have a long way to grow. So listing these kids that they list and all that early, that should all be up to who? Not me, not an algorithm, not 247 Sports, not Rivals. It should be up to the college coaching staffs on who they actually believe fit what their philosophy is, their offensive scheme, their defensive scheme, their special teams. All of those things combined together in an algorithmic formula to make a successful football team with the right people to build, your house. And I've watched Saban do it step by step, followed his whole career, and he's the GOAT. That's why they call him that. He's adapted a process through winning, through losing it first in Cleveland with Bill Belichick, a rocky road in the NFL to now, I think he's probably the most highest grossing paid coach in college football, maybe in history by this point. And that's a testament to his hard work, his drive, his constant pursuit of knowledge, learning from his mistakes, learning what did work, learning what didn't work, and revamping it. That's what we need to do with this recruiting rankings process. And I think it's rather simple, but it's a lot easier than solving the financial solution for college sports, and I believe I did that. So, I haven't put it all out there yet. I think I did it, though, and the rest of it, when you see it, you're going to be like, wow, that's logical, that makes sense, that's something that I believe in, that's something that we should all believe in as the United States of America. That's what our country was founded on. It was founded on freedom, but the freedom doesn't gain us privileges that we don't work for. We have to work for everything. The harder you work, the harder you grind for something that you believe in, it will happen eventually if enough people start following, the train. So, make a long story short, the algorithm really rocked me a little bit because I was the number 2 kicker in the country coming out of high school. I didn't even want to be on there. My dad told me it was pretty much, this is fake, and I didn't listen to him. I took it 100% as truth. I was the best. Who's number 1? How am I going to take him out? And that's what it became about. It didn't become about me evolving in my position. Instead, I just played everything and got good at everything. But that's an issue, because you could have become great at one thing, and the fact of the matter is I was never allowed to do the one thing I wanted to do, which was really be a point guard, or play back, or be a quarterback, option quarterback. Because I ran a 4.5, I was fast, bench press the house. It's on Rivals. 247. I benched 340, 4.54. I'm not bragging. Because of this, I was converted to running back and just handed the football. When we wanted to throw it long, we ran halfback, Murph special, we called it, I think, at one of the schools I was at. So all of those things play a role in growth, though, in your own careers. If you want to take a failure, really, I'm not saying that my career was a failure, but it wasn't my dad's career. I didn't make it to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or got some shots, got some opportunities, but 19 teams later, 7 concussions, things start to get dark real quick, and you have to figure out the next step of your life, and that's another program for another day. But that's why I'm glad we have such a great group of student athletes. The GPAs are in academics. Not that that's everything, because I mean, if you heard a little bit of my story before, the car accident my sophomore year ruined my GPA, my core, and all that core GPA for the NCAA clearinghouse. Really made people believe that I was stupid after that because of seeing my GPA and all of those things, except the Ivy League. I got letters every day, and I'm sitting there like, dude, do you know that, like, I'm not eligible right now? Like, my GPA shot because of this one thing that happened, and it is what it is. Learning from all that, getting to go to Hargrave Military Academy and play with the best players in the country. They're all ineligible as well. All rivals, top 10 players, and ended up playing safety, corner, DB. Coach Brad Justice. That's how we know each other, from Sevierville, Tennessee. Only person I've really stayed in touch with over the years, from Hargrave, and a couple of players. I've talked to Poe a few times. I've talked to a couple other guys. I learned a lot there. But moving the safety, moving the corner, covering the number one wide receiver in the country as the number two kicker in the country, and shutting them down, made me realize, like, then I led the team in interceptions, 4 interceptions. And we realized, like, rivals, you're wrong. Like, I want to play safety now. So it's very hard in the recruiting process to just go, hey, I was a kicker, and now, hey, I'm leading the team in one of the best prep schools in the nation in interceptions, and now I want to play safety. And I got offers to play safety. Got offers to play linebacker because I was about 225 at the time, and I think at the combine I ran a 4.51. It's on scout.com, and bench press. I don't think my bench is listed, but I was doing 225, about 28. So I wanted to play, and I ended up taking a D2 scholarship and then transferring D1. And from the car accident, there was now a lawsuit pending to recoup all of my bills from that lawsuit. So that turned into the doctor not clearing me, and me having to make another transfer if I wanted to remain, keep playing football in college, and potentially move on to pro football. And that's what ended up in Graceland, where Caitlyn Jenner went, and we have that whole story, and leaving school early and going to playing pro. Yeah, it was all worth it. Got to learn every level of college football, how it works, how their economic system works, how their scholarship programs work, how the FAFSA works, how we need to fill that out. No matter how much money you make, you need to take advantage of getting the Pell Grant, and then you get 20, 30 schools recruiting you at any one division, and you have that now. They know you get that, so you cost less money, but then now you can create a competition across the board. That school wants me, that school wants me, that school wants me. Okay, this can be at the D2 level, this can be at the NAIA level. And then when they come back, they're going to start giving you more money. They're going to start matching if you make it about that. But make it about, what kind of degrees do they offer? What kind of majors? What are you going to minor in? Look at those things first, but then make it about who's going to pay for my education, how much are you paying, and in the end, I ended up getting an excess check every semester with the Pell Grant money and all that, and that just goes right into your pocket. You can take that and buy more CFB tokens and load up, and or Polygon, like this morning. I said Polly was about to eat a bunch of crackers last night. Started going up. It's been making me good money this morning. I'm very happy about that. That algorithm's solid. The 247 in sports algorithm, I don't trust it. It just hasn't added up. Some players, and they'll point those guys out like religiously. The Lawrences of the world, the Justin Fields. Yeah, they did good on those two, the top two. But there's like 100 on your list, more than that. What about the rest of them? If you go dissect it all, over and over. I said I have 5-6 years of data, and then I got all the data from my years playing that is collected from where I was ranked to where this guy was ranked. I was ranked higher than Derek King. The heck? How can a kicker be ranked higher than Derek King? I mean, the dude is. I had him pegged as a possibly the third or fourth best quarterback in this draft. And this was a loaded quarterback draft. Now, many will disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But I've watched the game way too long to know that that kid is special. He's one of the best I've seen sling it, spins it perfectly. One of the, dynamic runner, but he doesn't run. He's remember a conversation yesterday on the podcast about the Ryan Day token. Ryan Day's stable, created stability with Justin Fields, a stable offense that was more pro-style oriented, and Justin Fields took off in whatever amount of games they played, beat the crap out of, Clemson, went head-to-head with the number one quarterback in the draft to everyone else, and kind of took it to him. Now, of course, there's going to be the narrative that Mel Kiper created, which that's what he does. They have to back up their case time and time again to make sure they're right. And, we're going to see. I wish Trevor Lawrence the best. Do not get me wrong on this fact. I am never going after a player. I am never going after anyone individually. I'm going after the narrative. I'm going after what's created. I'm going after how it doesn't make sense, how you're going to keep that narrative because you have to be right for whatever reason. Whoever's pulling the puppeteer strings behind the closed doors, you have to do this narrative and you have to stick to it, and you really can't form your own opinion. When I heard it on the draft, Mel Kiper said Justin Fields is my best quarterback, and then a little bit later he says Trevor Lawrence was my highest rated quarterback ever in the draft. I was so confused. I was lost. McShay, I think, said Fields was his guy too. And then Lawrence, oh my gosh. What's really happening? I don't know which way you're going. And that's confusing to people in the football world, the people that study, the people that every word that comes out of somebody's mouth gets ingrained in their subliminal memory somewhere. Or I have a huge head, big brain, now it's not all messed up. I remember everything, especially if it correlates to my algorithm, on how I built myself into, I don't call myself successful, into surviving. I mean, that's the word that I use more. It's more of a survival. Yes, I don't know how I still have as much money as I do in my bank account, but it's because of Rockfin. Rockfin comes along, taps me on the shoulder one day and says, hey, we want you to come over here. I didn't know anything about it, so I looked it up, started researching it, but it was really the guys that were already on the channel. Tom Lemming, and it's no disrespect to Tom Lemming or any other person on there. There's a couple I follow, but they're more promoters on kids rather than rankings on who's who. I stopped following Tom Lemming. It's not a disrespect. I respect him. I respect his grind. I respect his survival through the industry for 50 years. I just don't want anything involved with my algorithm unless they want to learn it first and learn how it operates and learn that it's not just a bunch of BS. I think that would be great. And I'm open to that. But I'm not going to follow him because I don't want to see his shit. My bad. I cussed again. I don't want to see it because it creates a cognitive dissonance in psychology. That's, as I refer to it, for people that don't study this field or know the language or the lingo, it's when somebody tells you that's just the way it is, that's just the way things have been, that's just the way things are done around here, even if it doesn't make sense, even if you have a million ways that other than that would make total sense, but that's what we're told. And one day when you get a bunch of tools thrown on your lap that do make sense, and you're able to form solutions that the people agree with, that's when things can start to change. But it has to be everybody together. It can't be everybody fighting. That's all I seen last year, and I even took part in it because it draws views. I know that. The world knows that. There's a saying in football, it doesn't matter. As long as they're talking about you, It doesn't matter what they're saying. They're talking about you, so you're relevant. And is that the way things should really be? I mean, should we have negative news positively affecting our lives? Like, I don't see that as productive for the outside people looking in, the little people of the kids growing up, the youngins, whatever you want to call them. It creates a disillusion that isn't productive. It doesn't promote growth. The whole team building aspect of the tokenomics for college sports to me makes sense. Thanks Sports Thread for promoting like when all you did was like Sports Thread baseball liked it and Sports Thread basketball liked it, and this is not that. I use CFB because it's what I know the most about. I do know a lot about basketball. I know some parts of baseball, but basketball and football would be my forte for building a solution to those issues. March Madness is my favorite time of year. I didn't get to really partake in it with everything I got going on this year, but it was a lot of fun. As a kid growing up, I was a huge Tar Heels fan. I grew up down there a little bit. My dad was an airframe. He took his airframe and power plant degree or whatever at Piedmont Bible College in somewhere down there in the middle of nowhere, Lewisburg, North Carolina, I think it was. Or we lived in Winston-Salem anyway, and caught huge catfish, about 50 of them a day in this lake outside, right in the back of the hangars where the airplanes were. There's this huge lake with water moccasins. They used to scare the living snot out of me. They'd come fly up on the boat I was in and start attacking the boat and knocking at the side of it, and I'm sitting there like, whew, these are some nasty little creatures, but they're not as nasty as a pack of tiny piranha. I studied them, not in Bolivia, but my dad grew up in Bolivia, so I would study a lot of the ecosystems down there and how it works, and the tiniest little creatures really of the Amazon. You don't want to mess with them. I mean, they eat anacondas alive. They'll eat anything alive. There's 30-foot snakes rolled up on trees down there. Like, it's some place I'll probably never visit because I'm scared to death of that kind of stuff, like snakes and bugs and all that. I'm not really a fan. But anyway, there's so many different layers to how this solutions can come to the forefront and actually be implemented. And that's going to be phase 2 that I'll go over this week of the tokenomics. But this was more about the 247 algorithm, the recruit rankings, how we shouldn't take too much stock in it as an athlete. I'm trying to create a ranking system. I've created a ranking system that you can move up from the bottom part, which somebody is this rankings in 2024. Jason Robinson, wide receiver out of Los Alamitos. I think he's transferred now to Texas. That's what takes a lot longer time on the younger rankings because there's a lot of movement, a lot of transfers, height and weight changes drastically sometimes, and we want to plug all that information in accurately so we get accurate statistics for the college coaches. Mostly on Rockfin because they all follow Tom. Before I joined Rockfin, Tom Lemming had about 12,000 something followers, and mostly recruiters, college coaches, fans of his throughout the networks, and this information can get passed along very quickly through that Sports Thread as well. I'm going to start posting profiles and all that to their platform, and then using what I got to with the email marketing list that has worked perfectly for a lot of guys, for mostly 99.9% of the guys for the last 6 years since 2016. So we're hitting every angle possible to get the information accurate, one, the rankings as accurate as possible. As someone with an immense amount of football experience, and I'm not saying that putting anybody else down, because I played the game since I was 6 until I was 30. I've seen more athletes than anyone in America in person, live, from the best number 1 recruits in America to arena ball, where we've had a lot of them filter down to, but 17 teams, and then NFL camps. Getting to watch all these guys in person as a kicker in camps, I'm a football player too, so I got to learn all these little things and how they use their bodies. And a lot of it, though, came down to film study and breaking it down, pausing it as it goes along, seeing the motion, seeing how Aaron Rodgers is launching that Hail Mary with perfect body weight transitioning, and how it comes out looking like he's really throwing a shot put. I think these little things at each position can add up for the younger kids if we can start implementing them. And what I like about it is, though, many of the kids we have that are younger, that are getting solid instruction, solid leadership back home, solid coaching, they are using a lot of these methods, very, very well. A lot of these techniques, a lot of these training methods and philosophies that can really accelerate an athlete to become, whatever the heck they want to become. And that's more in depth, I guess. I mean, I went over a lot in this little 30 minutes, but we're going to talk about some stuff more later today. I got to get some stuff on paper and get these recruit rankings out. I've been telling people they're coming, but at the same time, not everyone understands the full scope of the project. It's very, very wide. There's a lot of pieces to the puzzles that we're building here, and I love it. I mean, cryptocurrency has changed my life, but I'm thankful for that. It's better than I still get signups for Scout Trout, but they're just organic. I'm not promoting. I'm not gonna promote and try and just take people's money. I can make money on my own, but we've had signups through the program. Found me on Google first, and that's awesome. I'm gonna teach everybody who signs up. They're in the teaching process of what's next. There's gonna be some new lock pages on Scout Trout, but most of the stuff you just subscribe to Rockfin $9.99 and follow the journey, follow the process of in my book, there's never an end. Once you build one house, now you got to go build the community of houses, and then once you're done that project in construction, now you're building cities, skyscrapers, things like that, and learning all that through being a contractor in Pittsburgh for a short period of time, and my dad was a contractor. That's the mindset we need to have on the building process, but we need to do it educationally. We need to hit all the angles to create successful adults. As soon as they step out the door of that university, they should be ready to enhance the United States economy overall. And we're going to do it. There is no hope. I mean, there is hope. There is no hope in us not doing it. So have a good one. Thanks for tuning in to College Football Today Season 2 podcast. I'll talk to you in a little bit.